Hello and welcome back to awtoolbox.com. My name's Glenn Keller, and in this video we are talking about a very common use case with regards to Teamcenter. This use case is related to installation, and the goal of this use case is essentially to show what tasks we need to do as administrators post a database credential change. So just as a side note, Teamcenter has a set of credentials that you use to log into Teamcenter, but the database has a separate set of credentials that you use to log into the database. On occasion, let's say every 30 days, 60 days or so in a corporate environment, the database passwords must be changed. And if you don't plan this out, the database password change will bring down your system. So we're going to walk through what is needed, how you test the database connection, as well as how you update the connection credentials. Now in here, we're going to simulate the database change for the password, so we're just going to assume it changed, but we do want to take you through a successful run first. To begin with, if you are ever worried about your system being down and it's potentially the database, the first thing you should always do is go to the corporate server location, which could be on Linux, could be on Windows, doesn't really matter. But the trick is to open a command prompt. If you're in Linux, you can use a PuTTY window and then call what's called TC profile vars to create that command shell. But in Windows, if I say run as administrator, you'll notice there are three key elements here. It's going to set TC root and TC data and make a call to TC profile vars. So if you're in Linux, a lot of the times I have to update this to include TC root and TC data and just call this in the PuTTY shell once I'm logged in as the installation user. Either way, once it runs, you can use set space TC to validate that you have all the Teamcenter environment variables in here. So we just ran set space TC. And then if it is all set up, you can run install space -AYT. Are you there? And when you run it, you should get what you see here. So site is already installed means that Teamcenter can connect to that database just fine. That means your database, your listener, your Microsoft SQL Server database, any of that is up and running. It also means that my credentials are valid. Now, if you wanted to simulate, I can open up TC data, which is actually defined in here. If I do TC data, it'll tell me that TC data is this path right here. So I just need to go there and open up TC profile vars. So the database password is actually encrypted and stored in here. It's not going to be just plain text, except for a small time period when you're actually doing the change. So if I CD to the TC data location, I'll do a CLS to clear my screen. And then what I want to do is open up TC profile vars, but I'm just going to do start dot to launch the directory. Then I'll come in here and I'll jump into TC profile vars, which is right here. Remember on Linux, it is not a .bat file, it is just a TC profile vars file. And then I'll open that up with our editor. Alright, so this TC profile vars right here, if you scroll down a little bit, you will have the database server, so that should stay the same in this scenario. And then you have the Oracle SID, which could be different than mine in your environment. And then your license, but there is an environment variable in here that sets your credentials, so the TCDB connect string. In our case, if we wanted to change the database connection, so let's say I put test in here and save it. So if I put something that's broken in here after that colon, save it, and then come back in and rerun the TC profile vars, so TC profile vars.bat, that'll reset the attribute values, and then do a set space TC. Then I can come in here and say TCDB connect is now set to this value. So when I do an install space -AYT, now I'm going to get a fatal error down here. So the fatal error, this is a very common output from utilities in 2412, basically just means it's not connecting. And so at this point, either my database password has changed, or in our case, we changed it to not match the database in the TC profile vars. So at this point, if you got this initially, it's probably your listener, or the database is down, or you have a locked account. But if you didn't get this initially and you're just kind of playing along with me, we know that it is the password in that file. So how you correct this issue is whatever the password is, if it's the new one in the database or an existing one, you essentially just type the password right here. So I'm just adding whatever the password is between that colon and that @ sign. So in my case, the password is infodba. So it's only going to stay plain text for a moment. We're going to save that, and then in here we're going to rerun our TC profile vars to pick up on the change. Now, if I CLS this, I can do a encryption of that password. So it's just going to print out the encrypted value for me. I'm going to run that install tool again, but this time I'm going to do -encrypt. Now I can, if I hit enter here, I don't need credentials or anything. It's just reading from that file. And you'll see it gives me the full string back. Now you can copy the full string, or you can just grab the encrypted password out of it. You copy it, and then you come in here and you update everything to match. So now I've got my encrypted password and I can save the value. And if I come back in at the moment, if I run install AYT, it's not going to succeed. I'm going to re-execute the TC profile vars. And at this point, I should be able to say install-AYT, and then it connects. So this is an essential tool to going in and updating your database connection information if those passwords change. Just note that in some environments, you may have a distributed TC data folder, and if that's the case, make sure you go to all those TC data locations to pick up on those changes and make sure that you re-encrypt in each location. I don't really recommend copying the encrypted value around to all the locations. I'd rather do it at each spot, but to each his own on that if it works. We appreciate your time in this video. Hopefully you learned a little bit about updating the database credentials for Teamcenter. We'll see you in the next video.